She has a really hard time when there is no contact. She can't stop thinking about you, let alone forget you. And if you know where to look, you'll find those little details that show she's desperate to have you back by her side. Today, I'm going to reveal 7 very clear signs that appear when your ex is suffering during no contact. Hi, I'm Natalie West, a certified relationship expert who has been studying the female mind for years. In this video, as you know, I'm going to reveal what you want to know when you cut off contact with your ex. You spend all day wondering, is he thinking about me? Does he still like me? I assure you that I have seen many men successfully navigate this situation, and there is clearly a pattern of 7 signs that show that your ex is suffering but trying to hide it. Subscribe now, as this is just the beginning, and you would be helping me a lot. Let's start with the first sign. Signal 1. They replace you. Way too fast. A new relationship right after no contact begins. Happy photos everywhere. Sudden trips to exotic locations. Express love declarations on social media. But here's the truth. Nobody tells you. That's not love. That's anesthesia. Your ex is trying to erase your presence with emotional noise. Think about it. When someone moves on that quickly, they're not moving forward. They're running away. From what? From the empty space you left behind. From the silence that forces them to feel everything they're trying to avoid. The psychology here is fascinating. Rebound relationships serve one primary function: distraction. Your ex needs something, anything to fill the void. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Every moment with this new person becomes an unconscious comparison. Every laugh, every conversation, every intimate moment, they're all measured against the standard you set. You become the invisible third person in that relationship, not because you're trying to be, but because the human mind can't help but compare. When you share years, memories, inside jokes, and deep emotional connections with someone, that doesn't vanish just because they post a photo with someone new. Let me break this down further. Think about how memory works. Our brains create neural pathways based on repeated experiences. When you've been with someone for months or years, thousands of pathways have been formed. Every song, every place, every type of weather, they all connect back to you. The new person triggers these pathways constantly. They go to a restaurant? We used to go to a place like this. They watch a movie? They would have loved this scene. They laugh at a joke? That reminds me of their sense of humor. The new relationship isn't built on its own foundation. It's built on top of yours. And that's why it feels hollow to them, even when they're posting about how happy they are. The happiness is real, but it's shallow. It's surface-level dopamine, not deep connection. Studies in attachment theory show us something crucial. People don't actually replace attachment figures. They layer new ones over old ones. But the original attachment, especially if it was secure and meaningful, remains the template. You remain the reference point for what connection should feel like. So when you see those photos, those posts, that sudden new relationship, understand what you're really looking at. You're looking at someone who's terrified of being alone with their thoughts about you. Someone who needs constant validation that they made the right choice. Someone who's trying to convince themselves as much as everyone else. The faster they move, the less they've processed. The louder they broadcast their happiness, the more they're trying to silence their doubts. Real healing doesn't look like this. Real moving on is quiet, gradual, and doesn't need an audience. Signal 2. They become obsessed with social media, but not directly with you. Now let's talk about the digital ghost dance. Your ex doesn't message you directly. No texts, no calls, radio silence on the direct communication front. But their social media? That's a completely different story. Suddenly, they're posting cryptic quotes, song lyrics that are just a little too specific, stories with indirect messages that anyone who knows your situation can decode. Some people don't know what they had until it's gone. I'm learning to be happy alone. Not everyone deserves your energy. Sound familiar? Here's what's actually happening. They're creating a parallel communication channel. They can't reach out to you directly. Pride won't let them. Or maybe they're the one who ended things and can't admit they regret it. So instead, they speak to the void, hoping the message reaches you somehow. This is social media as emotional Morse code. Every post is tapping out a message. I'm thinking about you. I'm not okay. I want you to see this. I need you to react. But let's dig deeper into why this happens. When we experience emotional pain, especially after a breakup, our brain craves two things: validation and connection. Direct contact is too risky. It opens them up to rejection, to looking weak, to admitting they were wrong. But social media? That's safe. They can put their feelings out there without putting themselves out there. The psychological term for this is safe vulnerability. They get to express emotion without real consequences. If you respond, they win. If you don't, well, they weren't talking to you specifically anyway, were they? It's emotional insurance. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The algorithm becomes their emotional mirror. Think about how these platforms work. They show you more of what you engage with. If your ex is constantly looking at your profile, searching for your name, lingering on your photos, the algorithm notices. And what does it do? It starts showing them content related to breakups, heartbreak, moving on, toxic relationships. Their entire feed becomes a reflection of their internal state. And because they're consuming all this content about heartbreak and relationships, it keeps them in that loop. They're essentially creating an echo chamber of their own pain. Every sad song recommendation, every getting over your ex article, every TikTok about toxic relationships, it's all feeding back to them because they can't stop engaging with thoughts of you. The really fresh insight here is this. In the age of algorithms, we don't just think about our exes. We teach machines to remind us of them. Your ex has essentially programmed their digital environment to keep you present. They're drowning in content about you without a single post actually mentioning your name. And those ambiguous posts, they serve another function: testing. They're testing to see if you're still watching, if you're still affected, if you still care. Each story view they get from you is a small victory. Each reaction is proof that they still matter to you. The irony is beautiful, really. The more they try to show they're unaffected, the more they reveal they're consumed by it. If they'd truly moved on, their social media would be about their present, not these abstract references to their past. They'd be posting about new hobbies, new interests, genuine moments, not curated breadcrumbs designed to be decoded. Signal 3. They start appearing in places where you might be coincidence. Let's be very clear about this. No, it's not coincidence. Your ex suddenly starts frequenting the same coffee shop you mentioned loving. They show up at the gym during the hours you typically go. They're at that bar your mutual friends hang out at, even though they never used to go there. They join the same online communities. They comment in the same group threads. They're not talking to you, but they're making absolutely sure you see them. This is what I call proximity without contact. They want to be in your orbit without having to commit to actual interaction. Let's unpack the psychology here, because it's layered. On the surface level, they're checking if you still react to their presence. Do you look away? Do you leave? Do your eyes linger on them? Every reaction gives them information about where you stand emotionally, but there's a deeper layer. This behavior is about reclaiming a sense of control. During no contact, they've lost all control over your attention. They don't know what you're doing, who you're with, how you're feeling. That uncertainty is torture for someone who's not over you. By placing themselves in your path, they regain some of that control. They become a variable in your day again. They force you to have a reaction, even if it's internal. There's also an element of hope in this behavior. By being where you are, they're creating opportunities for natural reconnection. Maybe you'll bump into each other. Maybe you'll have to speak. Maybe the ice will break organically, and neither of them will have to be the one who reached out first. This is their way of saying, I still exist in your world, without the vulnerability of actually saying it. It's a form of indirect emotional contact, They're not texting you, but they're physically or digitally inserting themselves into spaces where you'll have to acknowledge their existence. Now, here's the fresh perspective that most people miss. This isn't just about seeing you. It's about being seen. They want you to see that they're out, that they're functioning, that they're okay, even if they're not. It's a performance, and you're the intended audience. Think about what it takes to do this. They have to plan their schedules around yours. They have to remember your routines. They have to care enough about your movements to alter their own. That's not the behavior of someone who's moved on. That's the behavior of someone who's strategically maintaining a connection, even if it's just a visual one. In the digital space, this looks like joining your online circles, engaging with content in communities you're part of, or even watching your LinkedIn profile. They're leaving digital footprints in your peripheral vision, not directly on your content, but close enough that you know they're there. The unconscious drive behind this is fascinating. Humans are territorial creatures, even in social spaces. By maintaining presence in your spaces, they're signaling that they haven't fully ceded that territory. They're not willing to completely separate their world from yours. There's still overlap, still connection, still a chance. Signal 4. They talk bad about you or criticize you, without reason. When your ex talks badly about you or criticizes you for no clear reason, it often says more about their emotional state than about you. On the surface, it looks like hostility. But underneath, it usually hides something deeper: emotional attachment. After all, if someone truly didn't care anymore, they wouldn't talk about you at all. Indifference is silent. People who have genuinely moved on don't bring up their ex in conversations. They simply stop thinking about them. Signal 5. They break their own silence. After a long period of silence, your ex suddenly reaches out with a casual message. Something like, "Hey, do you still have my charger?" Or, "This made me think of you." But they're not really asking about the charger. What they want is emotional contact, to see if you'll respond, if you still care, if the connection isn't completely gone. These small, harmless-looking texts are calculated excuses. They offer a safe way to test the waters. If you reply warmly, they can naturally reopen communication. If you respond coldly, they can pretend it was never about emotion. Just a practical question. It's their way of checking where they stand without admitting vulnerability. Breaking the silence reveals a lot about power dynamics. During no contact, control shifts. The one who reaches out first shows that they couldn't maintain distance, that they're still emotionally attached. That single message is a quiet confession. I've been thinking about you and I couldn't stay silent any longer. Your response then decides what happens next. If you react quickly and emotionally, you hand the power back. But if you stay calm and neutral, brief, polite, and practical, you show that you've changed. You're not cold, but you're no longer emotionally dependent. Every message like this is really a small surrender. The more trivial the excuse, the deeper the hidden longing. Beneath every text is the unspoken truth. I miss you. I just need to know you still care. Signal 6. They copy you, emotionally. This one is subtle, but once you notice it, you can't unsee it. Your ex suddenly starts adopting your phrases. They're listening to the music you introduced them to. They're using expressions you used to use. They're ordering the drinks you recommended. They're exploring the interests you were passionate about. This is emotional imitation, and it's one of the purest forms of attachment that exists in human behavior. Let me explain the psychology behind this. When we spend significant time with someone we love, we undergo a process called behavioral synchronization. We naturally adopt each other's mannerisms, speech patterns, preferences, and habits. It's how humans bond. It's why long-term couples start to look alike, finish each other's sentences, and develop a shared language. But here's what makes this signal so revealing. This is supposed to fade after separation. When you're no longer in daily contact with someone, you naturally drift back toward your own baseline behaviors. their influence diminishes. You stop using their phrases because you're not hearing them anymore. You stop watching their shows because you're not watching together anymore. Unless you don't want them to fade, unless you're actively trying to keep that person present in your life, even symbolically. When your ex continues to use your vocabulary, your interests, your ways of expressing themselves, they're creating what I call phantom intimacy. They're maintaining the feeling of closeness by keeping your influence active in their daily life. Every time they say a phrase you used to say, they feel connected to you. Every time they listen to a song you loved, you're there with them. This is their way of keeping you close when they can't actually have you close. It's a form of emotional object permanence. You exist in their habits, in their preferences, in their self-expression. From an attachment theory perspective, imitation is a bonding mechanism. Children imitate parents, students imitate mentors, partners imitate each other. It's how we signal, "You're important to me. You've shaped who I am. I'm carrying you with me." When your ex imitates you after a breakup, they're unconsciously signaling all of those things. You're still shaping who they are. You're still important to them. They're still carrying you. There's also a neurological component here that's fascinating. Our brains create strong associations between actions and emotions. When your ex does something you used to do, it triggers the neural pathways associated with you. Those pathways are connected to the positive emotions they felt with you. So by imitating you, they're essentially self-administering small doses of the good feelings you gave them. It's like they're recreating the sensation of being with you through behavioral mimicry. They can't have the real thing, so they're creating a simulacrum, a copy that gives them access to the feelings even without your actual presence. Here's the fresh insight that most people miss. This behavior reveals that they haven't integrated the loss yet. Healthy grieving involves accepting that the person is gone and that you have to reconstruct your identity without them. But your ex is doing the opposite. They're weaving you deeper into their identity. They're making you a permanent fixture of who they are. This can manifest in bigger ways too. Maybe they pursue a career path you talked about. Maybe they move to a city you wanted to go to. Maybe they adopt your political views or your dietary choices. These aren't coincidences. These are ways of keeping you as their reference point, their North Star, their guide, even in your absence. The paradox is beautiful. By trying to keep you close through imitation, they're proving how far apart you really are. If you were actually together, they wouldn't need to grasp at these symbolic connections. The real connection would be enough. Signal 7. They watch you, but avoid direct contact. One of the clearest yet most painful signs that your ex isn't over you is when they keep watching you but never reach out. They view your Instagram stories, check your profile, maybe even visit your LinkedIn, but they never like, comment, or message. They stay in the shadows, silently observing. This is what can be called the observer paradox. They can't engage, but they also can't look away. What's really happening here is information-seeking behavior driven by emotional conflict. They want to know how you're doing, whether you're happy, if you've moved on, but they're also afraid of finding out. Watching becomes their way of staying connected without exposing themselves to rejection or vulnerability. By lurking, they can feel close to you while still protecting their pride. This behavior reflects an inner tug-of-war. One part of them desperately wants to reach out, while another part, fear, ego, or uncertainty, holds them back. So they find a compromise. They don't speak, they just watch. It's a form of control that gives the illusion of closeness without the risk of intimacy. Psychologically, this falls under the concept of ambiguous loss. When someone is gone, but not gone, you're no longer together, yet you're still visible in their digital world. That makes healing much harder. When someone disappears completely, the brain can process the loss. But when you're still there, posting, living, smiling, their mind can't let go. They remain emotionally suspended between hope and pain. In today's world, no contact rarely means true absence. Social media keeps the door slightly open, allowing silent observation instead of clean separation. Ironically, that silence can intensify the emotional bond. Every post, every photo becomes a symbol, something they overanalyze for meaning. The distance amplifies your presence in their mind. Your digital life becomes a constant reminder of what they've lost. They don't want you to know they're watching, yet the view counter betrays them. That quiet name in your story views list speaks volumes. It says they still care, they still wonder, they still ache. Over time, many exes become chronic observers, witnesses to your growth, your happiness, your new life, unable to stop watching but too afraid to step forward. And that's the true tragedy of this signal. They're caught between two impossible desires, the need to stay close and the fear of being hurt again. They can see your world, but they can't be part of it. It's emotional limbo, a self-made prison of longing, regret, and silence. When someone watches your life unfold from afar, unable to let go but unwilling to reach out, that's not indifference. That's suffering in silence. The quiet proof that they're still emotionally tied to you, even as the distance between you keeps growing. These 7 signals form a constellation of unspoken pain. They're the breadcrumbs that lead back to one undeniable truth. Your ex is suffering in silence because what you had wasn't easily forgotten, wasn't easily replaced, and isn't easily released. The power in understanding these signals isn't about ego or revenge. It's about clarity. It's about seeing through the performance to the reality underneath. And it's about making informed decisions about how you move forward. Because here's the final truth. Just because someone is suffering doesn't mean you should go back. Just because they haven't moved on doesn't mean you shouldn't. These signals are information. Nothing more, nothing less. What you do with that information is entirely up to you.